Ladies and gentlemen, it's our privilege to hear the views of the world's leader, Shri Vivek Chaand Sehgal, Chairman, Samvardhana Motherson Group, one of the world's largest and fastest growing OEM suppliers with operations in over 41 countries in 270 manufacturing locations. A USD 12 billion revenues annual, and it is our honor and privilege to have his views with our industry fellows in this very critical time, sir. We wanted to first check with you, sir, that you have been operating across continents in 270 locations. How has the journey been in the last 2 months, and how do you think going forward, what shape will it take?
Well, thank you very much for having me, Nidhi. One small suggestion, I'm not Chand, I'm Chand. So
Okay.
you can call me, it goes very well with my size. Chand is too small. Okay, well, globally, we were lucky that China kind of preceded the global situation in COVID-19. So we started seeing the impact of shutdowns somewhere around almost February end, when people had gone for the New Year holiday in China and Korea and all that. And on the other side, we were also luckier that we could see what measures to take, what all things would be required for us globally. So we could have the benefit of hindsight. Now, at this particular moment, different countries, different clusters are operating differently. However, China and Korea are almost 80% to 120% of the capacity pre-COVID. And America is about 40 to 70%. India is about 30 to 50. Europe is still between 40 to 60. So different countries, different plants are achieving different capacity utilizations. So not easy for me to give you a bang one number and say that's what's happening. But challenges are there. The challenges are there. And our thing is to keep responding to the challenges.
And more so because you are operating across the world, so you are able to implement the learnings from one area to the other very quickly.
That's true. We have been very proud of our communication skills. So the way the whole group has been set up together, the communication, thanks to today's technology, is very, very quick and very fast.
The auto industry was not doing so well even before the COVID. The numbers were not showing that great, optimism. Going forward with the changed consumer behavior, sir, what would you see the impact on the auto industry?
Do you really feel that the auto industry was not doing very well before? Actually, people mistake cars with bags of cement or something, Cars is a car, it's an aspirational thing. So yeah, the A segment, B segment to some extent was hurt globally. But the luxury segment and the other segments that were there, cars really never came down that much. But yeah, I think different countries have different challenges and things like that. So I would not say that it was not doing well. It wasn't doing optimum what it could have done, yes. But different countries had different challenges. I think now after COVID, there is going to be a rethink for a lot of things. People are going to think about transportation differently. They're going to think about public mode of transport also differently. I think the story is quite out when you look at the taxis, which are supposed to, reduce the number of cars sold and all that, is going to be looked at very differently. So I think, it's going to be different. But I think for about 6 months to 1 year, you could see that. But then I think people will get used to it and they'll come back.
Okay, so the current phase of the Ola and Uber, which kind of swept the country by force in India and overseas, they have been impacted hugely. 50% of the workforce we hear they've laid off. The drivers have gone back to their native places, to the rural India. Will that also impact the buying of vehicles, and especially four-wheelers in India at least?
Well, I think basically the auto car makers are better positioned to answer that question. But if you believe in public sharing of vehicles and all that through taxis and Ubers and Olas and all that, then I don't think it's going to disappear. You will see a lull for about 3 to 6 months, 1 year maybe. Then people will come out with alternatives and solutions, and you'd probably get back to normal. I think this particular phenomena was more important in cities and towns and things like that. It was never something which was available outside. But I think the real difference is going to be that people are going to take more car trips. They're going to be taking holidays. I think that's going to be very evident now. People are going to try to resist going into trains and planes because you really don't know the huge mix that is there. So I think there are going to be some shifts in the kind of behavior of normal people. But I think somewhere down the line, we ourselves are very, very innovative, and we will find out ways and means by which we will be doing better cleaning and sanitizing, and all those particular things will be different. So I think, yeah, it's a thing which is there for about 6 months to a year. We'll find solutions, and you watch; it'll come back to normal.
Yes. Also, a few factors that we are also hearing within our own employees and also our colleagues is that there's going to be, they're thinking that if they can afford to buy a four-wheeler instead of a two-wheeler, people who already were, there's going to be a shift of demand from the two-wheeler riders to the four-wheelers. And also the companies, as they say, they might find it more safer if they could afford to kind of have a fleet of vehicles that they will operate themselves instead of allowing their employees to come in local transport. So they may kind of adapt to these measures short term, and probably that will become the behavior to go on also then. Would you see that kind of thing happening?
Yeah, but you're going to also look at more traffic jams and things like that. That many more vehicles is also going to be putting load on the cities and things like that. So if it is not backed up by infrastructure, then you will have issues. In Australia, we have these huge highways, and we call them parkways because you keep parking your car there because the traffic doesn't move. So I think there are those challenges which every country has to go through. But I believe that, yes, personal transportation is a must now. And that is a huge tectonic shift in what people said. So people thought that, as long as I can use a taxi, why should I own a car? I think now they will seriously think about it the other way.
Yes, I think everyone is thinking like that. So we've seen much more cleaner and crisper air. I belong to Simla, and the kind of air that I've experienced there, everyone has seen that across because of the vehicles being off the roads. Would you think this experience people will kind of want to retain, and they will think stronger on the lines of energy autonomous environment? If yes, then what impact will it have on the auto industry?
Well, I think that's a loaded question. It's very unfair for you to ask me that question because we all know that transportation, cars and things like that only account for maybe 15-20% of the pollution. You have construction, you have crop burning, you have public burning of waste and everything. I mean, there are 500 reasons why this thing is happening. So putting the load totally on the car or transportation is unfair. Also, if you look at the Euro 6, Euro 4, Euro 6, or Bharat 4, Bharat 6, sorry, then you find that these vehicles are very, very efficient. They don't do that. So there is no scrappage policy in a country like India, which must be there because you have to get old technology off the road. So just pointing a finger, normally in Motherson, we say 3 fingers will point back at you. So, we feel that it has to be a concentrated, composite kind of an action taken by all of us. And definitely, we all love the clean air. In Delhi, we sit upstairs in the on our roof, and we actually see stars. So that's amazing. But remember, the last 2 or 3 months, the industry's been closed. The crop burning, etc. There's hardly anything happening over there. That's the reason why the air is so beautiful and so clean. So I think it's a thing that all of us has to understand. It was not just by cars or something like that. And I think there are enough studies in the road to tell you that only 15-20% comes from transportation.
Good, sir. I think this question and the answer that you gave also clarifies, because the little bit of doubt that people would have and not have the statistics clearly, there are a lot of other factors also which kind of are maybe holding a much more volume. So thanks for clarifying that. It would kind of make it clear to everyone now. Last question on the consumer demand is that how would you see because of the price sensitivity in the four-vehicle portfolio, the different verticals getting impacted going forward, the high, the medium, and the low?
So, it's a fact. Nowhere in the world has somebody said, okay, I'm going to buy an X car, and actually went to the dealership and bought an X minus car. I guarantee you, every single person has gone and said X plus, 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 plus. I mean, with the new EMIs and all these wonderful financing schemes and all that. I have a lot of dealerships as well. It's kind of a occasion. The whole family goes there to buy a car, and there's a lot of wonderful arguments that happen with which car is available and blah blah blah, and I can go on. But I've never seen somebody going to say, I'm going to buy a B segment car, and actually comes back home with an A segment car. So it's an aspirational thing. There are going to be shifts in different things. I believe the liquidity is going to be huge. There is tremendous amount, trillions and trillions of dollars globally has been given in the public domain. So I don't think people are going to be buying just the cheapest car just because of something else. I think there is going to be a little bit going up the value stream. So I think it's good. It's good for the industry.
Looks good, sir. The prices of the raw material, we have seen unforeseen low prices, which we've not seen in decades. Of course, the reasons were low price of crude and the demand being low. Everyone has kind of enjoyed those low prices.
Isn't it? If your cars are not selling, you don't need the oil.
Correct. How would you see, it will be directly proportional to the demand, right? And it would kind of pick up as the demand comes back.
Yeah, I think it will pick up. At the end of the day, oil is a consumable, right? But also, I think what is very important is, because I remember in my childhood days, we used to read in the newspaper, and they used to say that, oil globally will finish off by 2020 or something like that. Hey, today we see the largest resources available in the world. We have fracking, which is going on, and we have so many things that are going on. So I think a big shift has been that USA is now the largest exporter of oil and the oil reserves and things like that. So I think it proves that the human being is very innovative and will find out new and better ways to do things which were first considered as a consumable. I think there is unlimited kind of thing available, at least for the short term, say about 100 years or something like that. So I'm a bit waiting and watching what is happening globally on the raw material side. Yeah, the prices will come down, then it'll go back up. And I think that is demand and supply, it will carry on happening. So we don't worry too much about it. But the unfortunate part is that if the whole thing gets loaded onto a particular segment or an industry, at the end of the day, you and me as the ultimate customers are going to pay the bill for it. So from my side, the lower the better.
Yes, because it's going to get passed on to the customer. So even the topic that is under discussion nowadays, that you put import duty, COVID import duty on raw material, if it gets put, and there are, I understand, many specialty engineering polymers that get used in auto, it will then directly pass on to the consumer then.
So we have a special duty for COVID. We will have a special duty for locusts. Now at the moment, we have a huge attack of locusts. So you can then keep on adding the taxes as much as you want. I think I would, in my humble opinion, just loading up taxes is not a solution. I think the Indian people, especially in India, globally also, are very kind, benevolent. There is a particular problem. You can see a lot of outpour of funding and all that, which is sent to the relative government in whichever state or whatever that is there. So I think the government has to understand that for these kind of things, you can't disturb, you shouldn't disturb the tax structures and things. It just makes it that much more complicated.
Let the market find its own balance and let the consumers and everyone take whatever suits them best at their price points. Agree with you. Couldn't agree with you more. There was a lot of buzz around electric vehicles. We remember, about 3-4 months before, we were forced, even in my own conferences, this electric vehicles had to be a topic and we would get speakers from there. Considering the lack of infrastructure as well as the high price points, sir, what is, your take from fossil fuels to electric vehicles? And now we are hearing hydrogen. You would probably be the best person to give us a little bit of light or headway on that one, sir.
So I'm a contrarian when it comes to that. I have publicly said everywhere that I don't think electric vehicle is going to overtake whatever is currently available today. The logic of that is very simple. Electric vehicle precedes ICE engines. If you go to Stuttgart to the Porsche Museum, then you will see that electric engine was the first engine made by Porsche in 1931. And actually the electric engines are coming from electric tram cars, and they tried to separate the car from trams. So that's where the whole issue happened. But only 20-25 years ago did the electric engine come back. The total cost of environment for an electric car in today's condition is actually, if you look at the Euro 4, Euro 6 engines, it's much better off over there. So I think definitely it's a personal choice you have. You like electric, go ahead, do that. India is the second largest road network in the world. We are bigger than China. By kilometrage, India is much higher than China as well. And we're only second to USA. So in such a scenario, to electrify the complete roads in India, we're still kind of not 100% the electrification of the railways has happened. We're now going to embark on the roads. Under the present government, we are actually building more and more roads with a huge speed. So I really wonder how, what is more important for a country like India? Is it electrification of roads, or is it the other basic this thing over there? So I think there's a lot of confusion, and yeah, it looks very attractive to have electric cars and all that, but there are huge challenges. I mean, you have to retrain everybody in the whole of India not to touch the wiring, for example. We are a wiring harness company, so you touch the wire and you're gone. You'll become ash in seconds, nanoseconds. So I think there are a lot of challenges. People are not aware of it. But when it comes to that, I think somewhere around 5 years, 10 years down the line, you will have multiple options. You will have electric car, you will have diesel, you will have hydrogen. Hydrogen is probably the best. It sounds so beautiful to the ears. It's unbelievable. But actually, think of it. If you have a petrol pump, and if God forbid that catches fire, one house, houses all around that will just break the windows. If you have an LNG or a CNG, the first round of houses is gone. And if you have a hydrogen fueling pump, then that whole block is gone. So it has its own challenges. So, the fire is a huge problem. So hydrogen bombs are way bigger than nuclear bombs. So I'm just saying, people don't realize, but it's a huge thing. So yeah, it looks very good, but I would keep my judgment at the moment, reserve it.
There are much bigger problems to take care of right now than think of these futuristic. They can wait a bit for now. Yes, I do agree with you. This whole thing has come a full circle, sir. globalization, and now everyone is focusing on localization. All the leaders that I'm speaking to, they are, wanting that, they want everything close by. They want all their vendors, everything close by. That is what the effect of pandemic has been. How does it affect the auto industry? Because as I understand that a lot of components are imported, whether they're motors, batteries, a lot of components are imported in making an automotive plant. So if localization becomes the focus, what changes will automotive industry have to take?
Well, Nidhi, we are vindicated. I mean, we're in 41 countries manufacturing plants, and we are absolutely vindicated. We knew long time ago that, yeah, there is a limitation to the amount of, things that you can import from all of the countries. Also, it puts a huge dent on the local economy, when you're importing a lot and things like that. So we are strong proponents of being local and yet globally local. So I think a good mix of producing in one country and then importing and exporting to different units of our own group is probably a much better way to do it than to just keep on importing components. I think, yes, most of the car makers, at least in India, are pretty much, I think, almost to a great extent self-reliant. Whatever imports is not so much. And I think the ability to use the power of the currency to their advantage is very well known to all the car makers. So I think, it's going to be local, and it's good news because one or two countries in the world can't become the manufacturing countries of the world. So I'm pretty happy. We have plants in countries like Argentina, Mexico, and Brazil, and everything. And I keep telling them that you have to start doing everything yourself. You have to be capable to do everything yourself. So I'm vindicated. Motherson is definitely vindicated.
Yes, cheers to that. So you made the right decisions long time back, and you've given me a beautiful phrase, globally local. It is so very apt, and I think that is going to be the heading of this session. I've got my cleansing line there. You are the maestro of mergers and acquisitions, sir. I mean, very few people that actually, I would not even remember how many people who have factories across the world running them to a point where all of them are successful. Would you find this time opportune to guide other people for mergers and acquisitions, or you will tell them, hold on, just ride the wave for now? What would be your guidance, sir?
I think one of the basic differences that Motherson did vis-a-vis other people who had their own mindset that I'm going to go global and things like that. What we did differently was we always followed the customer. If the customer is telling me to go to a particular country, we didn't worry, we went, because we knew that together with the customer, we were solving a problem, then we would be helped by the car maker. I think the biggest advantage that Indians have, that we were 563 countries in 1947 that became India. So we keep thinking that, India was multiple or kingdoms, but kingdoms were countries. And so we have the advantage of absolutely ruling in diversity. So what's another 1, 10, 5, 15 countries? It's nothing really. We Indians are very good in understanding the diversity and taking it to our advantage. So I personally feel that if the entrepreneurs are younger and they have the understanding of the ability to take diversity and then take it to your advantage, then it's a great time to go global and to start looking at ways and means by which you can take over companies there which do not have the advantage that you have. So I think it's up to each person to respond to the circumstances that he has. And there is no one general rule which goes and applies to everybody. But at this particular time, 3 golden rules from our side: look for the opportunity, make sure that you are cash rich, you are absolutely working on cash, your cash flows have to be very strong. And third, the ability of the people to be with you. Because, in today's day and age, if you are going to go, say, okay, I'm going to go now to Europe, well, Europe will have a different issues and things like that over there. So the ability to take that local country's people with you, that is the advantage that we have. If I go and set up a plant today in Tamil Nadu, I'm not going to take people from Delhi to go to Tamil Nadu to run the plants. I will be working together with the people from Tamil Nadu to run that plant. So I think that thing has to be extended when you go outside India. Tremendous amount of opportunity globally. Tremendous.
Good, sir. That's going to give us a kind of a sunrise raise going forward. And it will be such an encouragement for all our Indian industry members to hear an enigma like you, that you are running the whole operation. And of course, they can run whatever they're doing with, even in the critical situation there is, to take the learnings from the leaders and go forward. You have a very strong force of about more than 1.5 lakh team, sir. What has been your mantra during this time? Because people have dealt with their manpower differently.
Yeah, I think we are very lucky that we are not having people which are, say, like what is known as, people who have just guys who are picking up bags and putting it in trucks and things like that. We have a very educated workforce. Associates are very, very committed to what they're doing. They're specialists. Yet they're educated. So I think that is one thing. So we're very local. We are not hiring people coming from different states all over the country, or different this thing outside in different countries and different places. So I think the ability to be one with them is very important. Vaman and me, that's my son and me, we both of us, the moment this first lockdown started, we actually had a global Zoom meeting with over 6,000 people. And that's our pyramidal structure. So we got the attention of all the people who could then talk to another 100 people, 200 people. So in such a way, we could actually tell what our expectations from them is. Also tell them that, whatever help they need, we are always there. So I think the ability to talk to all of them in a very quick manner is something which is the fantastic thing that we have learned in this particular episode of COVID, or whatever you want to call it. I think the ability to take your team together with you is very important. But communication, as you rightly said, is vital for that. So I think it's a different world which is going to come out when we come out of all this, and communication will be right. But on the lighter note, I travel 300 days a year. 300 days a year from 1997, I've been doing it. And I was telling my son the other day that I think that was a waste of time. All I had to do was to be on Zoom.
True, sir, very well. All of us are learning to kind of connect this way, and yes, save all the time and the energy. I would also like to ask you one personal question. I know that you have the deep, profound faith in Krishna. I think all that are close to you know that. Few words of, I would say, advice, or few words of enlightening that you feel to share with our industry, so that they can all keep their sanity in this critical time.
Yeah, I'd love to say many things about it, but I think in today's time, people are a bit concerned, they're a bit worried about what will happen. So one definitely goes back to philosophy, and Lord Krishna is the guru of philosophy, I think. So I would like to leave just one thought with all your viewers, and that is his saying that one has to benchmark against yourself. Don't benchmark against anybody else. Your reality, your position is yours. It's not common to anybody else. So he says, one must by himself pull himself up. But one alone is the best friend and the best enemy of oneself. So the ability to understand your situation, what you have achieved and where you want to go, what are the processes? You have to only beat yourself. If you are better than yourself from yesterday, you already scored. And one day you'll become the benchmark of the world. So in our group, there is a mantra which is there. It is called BY. And that comes from this philosophy, and that is by yourself, better yourself. Nobody else is your competition. You are your biggest competitor. So go for it.
If I'm going to continue this conversation more, sir, I'm going to keep getting too many phrases that I will have to elongate. So I'm going to end it here because I know that I've taken already enough time. But I wanted to thank you from our entire industry for sharing your experience, being the guiding force, and giving us the words of encouragement. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate a lot. Thank you.
Very much.
Yeah.
And the guidance is Lord Krishna's, not mine.
Thank you.
Take ownership. Thank you.
Yeah.